After the explosion, we lived in the Chingiz Mountains for another week and a half. Right there on a high hill they buried Kinche, the first innocent victim of the hydrogen bomb test at the test site. Al-Kurchatov exclaimed immediately after the explosion, "This is mysterious. God forbid if this ever used against people. This cannot be allowed."
Today in the video you will find out where the Tsar bomb was tested, what consequences radiation can lead to, why Semipalatinsk was chosen, how this event prevented the start of the Third World War, and why America is again to blame for everything. But why did the USSR test its nuclear weapons in the Semipalatinsk, and why did it test at all? To answer this question you must plunge into the time 1946, a post-war period. A year ago, hitherto unseen nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which raised the cities to the powder. And America was the first country to use nuclear energy in such way. The USSR looked at these nuclear bombs and said,
"I also want a nuclear weapon."
Since then Cold War began, the powers of the USSR and the USA competed who had the best economy, who had the best technologies, and importantly, who had the biggest bomb. Semipalatinsk decided to choose because A. Geography location. Semipalatinsk Test Site is located on a remote and sparsely populated territory of Kazakhstan. B. Availability of infrastructure. During the test, literally the half of the city of Kurchatov was there to serve the test site. And C. Secrecy. It was easier to control every information in this region because of the sparsely population in this area, so the government strictly controlled every information. As I said, over a period of 40 years, according to the United Nations, 450 warheads were dropped there. As you might guess, the consequences were not pleasant. Starting with environmental damage, of course, is a threat of destruction because nuclear tests at the Semipalatinsk Test Site released a huge amount of radiation into the atmosphere, which polluted the land and water. Of course, it reduced the available stock of resources and food security because people had no access to fresh and clean water. Only according to official data there are 1,057,000 victims of Semipalatinsk, but in reality there may be more. But how could so many people have been harmed by the bombs? It's all because of radiation. After the explosion of a nuclear bomb, a huge number of positively charged nuclei are released from the epicenter of the explosion. And if the nucleus of an atom is charged, then it shoots particles to get rid of excess energy. When these particles shots hit the body, it knocks electrons out of the atom, creating ionized nuclei, which are called radicals. These radicals immediately react with cells. Because of this, the cell loses the ability to divide and dies. Also, radicals react with DNA, which creates mutations in the human body. All this was experienced by the residents of Kurchatov and Semipalatinsk, near which they tested nuclear weapons for 40 years, causing mutations and tumors in the population, which of course affected children. Over 1 million people have been injured in this way. Okay, but how did tests at the Semipalatinsk Test Site prevent the World War III? At that time, the USSR and the US were afraid of each other due to the nuclear weapon. They were afraid of the beginning of World War III, when on November 22, 1955, the first thermonuclear bomb was tested on Semipalatinsk Test Site. At the same time, USSR and the US reached nuclear parity. That means situation where two opposite superpowers have a comparable capability of nuclear strike forces. That means that the beginning of the war means end for the two powers. This helped in 1968 the USSR and the US to sign a treaty on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. The disaster at the Semipalatinsk Test Site serves as an extreme example of the harms that can result from the pursuit of human potential and progress without taking sustainability into care. From 1949 to 1989, the area was used for Soviet nuclear weapon testing, which caused major environmental damage and long-term health consequences for the local population. This tragedy provides a reminder of the significance of taking sustainability into account when making scientific and technical advancements, particularly when it comes to the creation of application of nuclear technologies. It also highlights the necessity of ethical and responsible research that considers the possible negative effects on the environmental and human health. But this experience led us to evolve because we realized how terrible and destructive nuclear weapons can be. This knowledge and experience in the future will help us develop a possibly new type of energy or never repeat the same mistakes again.